The night Earth changed forever began quietly, with clouds moving slowly over cities and oceans, and people living normal lives without knowing that history was about to break open above them. Because far beyond the moon, dark shapes slid out of empty space like wounds opening in the sky, enormous alien ships forming perfect lines as if the universe itself had planned their arrival. And when human satellites turned toward them, alarms spread across every control room on Earth. Blinking red screens showing objects larger than mountains moving with calm purpose. While on the ground leaders were pulled from sleep, soldiers rushed to stations, and scientists stared in silent fear as the truth became clear that humanity was no longer alone and no longer safe. And soon the ships moved closer, blocking sunlight as they took positions in orbit, their metal hulls glowing with red symbols that no human mind could read. Yet everyone understood the meaning without words, because power like that only came for one reason, and inside the largest ship, a vast black structure hanging like a shadow over the planet. The alien commander stood watching Earth with cold interest, his armored body tall and still, 4 bright eyes glowing as he studied the blue world below, seeing oceans, continents, and billions of lives as nothing more than numbers and resources. And when his officers reported that Earth's defenses were weak, that the ships below were small and scattered, and that fear signals were rising fast, he felt no rush, no anger, only patience born from centuries of conquest, because his people had ended stronger worlds than this one, and this planet would be no different. So he ordered a message sent, a simple demand carried on every channel, telling humanity to surrender, disarm, and submit or face destruction. And on Earth, that message hit like a hammer, spreading panic through cities, markets, and homes, while governments tried to talk and media feeds filled with fear. Yet even as dread took hold, something else began to rise. Because human warships started to move, old and new vessels lifting from hidden bases, repaired stations, and shipyards that were never meant to face gods from the stars, but still they came together, forming defensive lines around the planet like a final shield. And in command rooms, officers studied maps filled with red enemy symbols and blue human ones that were far too few, knowing deep down that a fair fight would end in minutes. Yet none of them spoke the word surrender, because humans had learned long ago that survival was not about fairness but about will. And among those watching the screens was a woman named Mara Vance, a pilot with scars on her armor and fire in her eyes, someone who had tested ships meant to break and flown missions that should have killed her. And as she looked at the massive alien command ship sitting calmly above Earth like a king on a throne, she did not feel fear the way others did, but instead felt a sharp focus, seeing not an impossible enemy but a problem that needed solving. And while others talked about defense and delay, she saw something else, a single point that mattered more than all the rest, because she knew that even the largest beast could fall if you struck its head. And when she spoke, her voice cut through the room with simple truth. Pointing at the alien flagship and naming it as the heart of the invasion. And though the odds were terrible and the plan reckless, the leaders listened, because humans had survived worse by trusting those willing to take the hardest path. And as the final seconds of the alien ultimatum passed, human fleets moved into position, engines burning bright, weapons charging, pilots saying quiet goodbyes, and then the sky above Earth erupted as alien guns fired first, beams of energy ripping through space, tearing human ships apart in flashes of light. Yet the humans did not run, instead charging forward, dodging, firing back, filling the dark with noise and fire. And in the middle of that chaos, as alien sensors tracked the main human force and their commander watched with calm confidence, a small group of human ships broke away and vanished from sight, hidden by the storm of battle, slipping through gaps no enemy thought worth watching. heading straight toward the greatest alien ship of all, carrying with them not the strength to win a war, but the courage to change it. While the alien commander continued to observe the battle with certainty, believing the humans brave but doomed, never seeing the danger racing toward him through fire and shadow. And in that moment, as Earth burned and space filled with wreckage, the fate of humanity balanced on a single bold move that would either end their story forever or prove to the galaxy that humans were never as weak as they looked. The small human strike group moved through the chaos of the alien battle like shadows dancing on fire, their ships battered but refusing to yield, each pilot knowing that every second counted and that retreat was not an option, with Mara Vance at the lead, her hands steady on the controls as her eyes scanned the instruments and the burning stars outside, knowing that the alien fire was precise, deadly, and unrelenting, yet trusting in the daring modifications that made their ships faster, smarter, and unpredictable, while her co-pilot shouted warnings as lasers cut past them. Hulls shook from impacts and alarms blared. Mara's mind worked in perfect rhythm with her hands, weaving through the enemy fleet with daring maneuvers that no training had prepared them for, relying on intuition, timing, and the kind of reckless courage that humans seemed to carry in their blood. And as they neared the alien command ship, every human ship in the strike team executed maneuvers that confused the aliens, ramming shield nodes, overloading reactors, and detonating small sections to create openings, while outside, Earth's fleet kept the alien main forces busy, drawing attention away from the few who dared to approach the heart of the invasion, and the alien officers inside the command ship scrambled, their routines precise until chaos spread, their sensors overwhelmed, alarms screaming that intruders were aboard, their confidence shaken by actions they could not understand, while Mara's team deployed boarding pods, ejecting through airlocks, floating into the enormous ship with gravity fields adjusting around them, and every corridor they entered was a gauntlet of alien defenses, traps, and guards, but humans pushed forward relentlessly, using weapons, wit, and sheer determination to overcome barriers, their movements coordinated, fast, and unpredictable. And even as comrades fell and armor cracked, they did not stop, because humans never yielded when they believed in a cause, and every step forward brought them closer to the bridge, where High Commander Vorthek stood, surrounded by his elite guards, expecting a fight he thought he would win without struggle, confident that his centuries of conquest could not be challenged by a fragile species. Yet Mara and her team were unlike anything he had faced, their attacks improvised, their resilience astonishing, and when they finally reached the massive doors of the command chamber, they encountered the last barrier, a shielded and locked entry that seemed impenetrable. Yet Mara, with a glint of mischief and certainty in her eyes, applied a device she had kept for this moment, a small piece of technology that defied logic and brute force alike, and with a flash of light, the doors disappeared, revealing the chamber where Vorthek awaited, his four glowing eyes narrowing as he observed the humans. And he spoke with calm menace, assuming his presence alone would intimidate them, claiming they were nothing and that their efforts were futile. Yet Mara, wounded and bloodied but smiling, stepped forward, meeting him without fear, knowing that the real power of humanity was not in strength or size but in creativity, courage, and the willingness to take impossible risks. And as alien guards lunged, humans fought with fury, their movements sharp and deadly, weapons flashing, bodies striking, every action precise yet fueled by raw emotion. And the commander, despite his power, found himself on the defensive, forced to react to attacks he did not anticipate, while Mara, bleeding and exhausted, drew upon the last reserves of her strength and skill, manipulating her suit systems, overriding environmental controls, and creating disturbances that confused, slowed, and disoriented the aliens until finally, the bridge became a battlefield of survival, strategy, and raw will, with humans pressing forward relentlessly, overcoming every obstacle, demonstrating that even against beings of unimaginable power, determination, intelligence, and teamwork could turn the tide. And in the midst of that chaos, Mara prepared the ultimate move, a signal, a call home that would bring the hidden might of Earth into the fight. Knowing that the alien commander had no idea of the trap closing around him, believing victory was within reach even as his empire began to crumble in ways he could not comprehend. And every second, every heartbeat, every act of courage built toward the moment when the tables would turn completely, showing that humans, underestimated and outnumbered, could strike at the heart of a godlike enemy and survive. And as Mara pressed the final controls, feeling the energy pulse beneath her fingers, she smiled through pain, understanding that the fight was not just about ships or weapons, but about the unyielding spirit of a species that refused to die quietly, that even in the largest, most terrifying alien command ship, human ingenuity, bravery, and stubbornness could pierce the impossible defenses, overwhelm the strongest guards, and reach the command chamber where the fate of millions hung by a thread, all building to the moment when humanity's most daring, reckless, and brilliant act would change the course of the battle, proving that no matter how powerful the enemy seemed, humans had the ability to turn fear into strength, danger into opportunity, and desperation into victory, because they were bold, clever, and unrelenting, qualities no alien commander could fully anticipate until it was too late. And that truth echoed through every corridor, every fight, every breath Mara took as she prepared to deliver the strike that would shake the galaxy. The moment had come when everything Mara and her team had risked, every plan they had dared, and every sacrifice made by human soldiers across the battlefield converged into a single point of action. As she activated the final system in her suit, and the signal she had prepared reached Earth's hidden fleet, a secret armada waiting beyond the outer edges of the Karzul command zone. And though the aliens laughed at the apparent simplicity of human actions, thinking their enemy was about to die in predictable chaos, they did not notice the invisible forces beginning to stir, the experimental gravity drives engaging across the fleet, bending the very fabric of space, turning it into a weapon that humans barely understood themselves, a force that twisted ships, crushed hulls, and disoriented the alien formations, while inside the Blood Mandate, alarms screamed louder than ever, sensors failed, and the four glowing eyes of High Commander Vorthak widened in disbelief as he realized his fleet was no longer in control of the space around them, with vessels colliding, energy shields overloaded, and formation shredded by unseen forces, and Mara, broken, bleeding, and exhausted from the relentless battle, pushed herself forward, knowing that the last step required courage beyond all else. Walking into the central chamber where Vorthak still stood, confident that his physical power could dominate, yet unaware that the humans had transformed the rules of the fight, that every move he made was countered by ingenuity, risk, and sheer stubbornness. And as guards fell around him, Mara met his gaze, her suit systems glowing faintly with energy that hummed like a heartbeat, while outside, the human fleet executed maneuvers so daring that alien sensors could not track them, combining physics and technology in ways no Karzul mind could anticipate. And with one final gesture, Mara pressed the switch that would end the command ship, collapsing its core by triggering the unstable energy she had carefully built into the vessel's systems, while teleportation systems carried part of her team safely back to Earth's orbit, leaving her in the chamber, injured but resolute. And in that moment, the Blood Mandate shuddered violently, the very structure of the massive ship imploding from the inside, hulls folding, energy conduits exploding, and Vorthek. The centuries-old conqueror realized too late that the humans had never intended to fight by the same rules, that their strength had never been in numbers or raw firepower, but in creativity, courage, and the willingness to risk everything. And his screams were swallowed by the collapse of his ship, leaving silence where his voice had been, while the remaining alien vessels, seeing their command destroyed and the space around them manipulated in impossible ways, broke formation, some fleeing into deep space, others disintegrating in the gravity distortions, leaving the battlefield around Earth littered with wreckage, smoke, and the quiet after the storm. And as the dust settled, human ships, battered but alive, regrouped, their pilots exhausted yet triumphant, knowing that they had not just survived but had struck a blow that would echo across the galaxy, demonstrating that humanity's defiance and ingenuity could match or even surpass civilizations far older and larger. And weeks later, as communication systems repaired and Earth rebuilt, the first human message to the galaxy carried no threat, only warning and pride. A statement that humanity would defend its home and its people, and that any who underestimated them would learn the same lesson as Vorthek, that humans were clever, persistent, and unyielding, capable of turning desperation into victory, and that spirit was embodied in Mara Vance, her smirk and courage immortalized in the stories and memories of all who had fought and survived, a symbol of the stubborn, brilliant, and indomitable nature of humankind. And though Mara herself was listed as missing after the final battle, her actions had inspired generations, her words "hold my beer" becoming a legend, a call to courage whenever humanity faced impossible odds, showing that the essence of their strength was not in technology alone, but in the unbreakable will to survive, to fight, and to turn the tables on any enemy, no matter how powerful, and that legacy would carry forward, teaching the galaxy that humans might be underestimated, but they were never defeated, and that the universe itself should pay attention whenever humanity chose to act, because in their hands the impossible became possible. The weak became dangerous, and the smallest spark could ignite a storm that no empire could contain. And thus, from the ruins of the Blood Mandate to the stars beyond, humanity's triumph was complete, a testament to courage, ingenuity, and the relentless determination that defined the species, proving that no matter the challenge, humans would endure, adapt, and strike back, leaving a legacy that would be remembered and feared long after the last alien ship fled the remnants of their command. And in every human heart that looked to the sky afterward, there was pride, hope, and the knowledge that when faced with the impossible, someone would always rise, smirk, and say, "Hold my beer."